So recording is started. Fine. So now this is very important session as a practical point of view, and because of it's a standalone system, I think this installation is taking too much of time. Be patient and observe the folder structures, how the things are happening, and what is the purpose and everything. You have to concentrate on that, and I will explain each and everything. So before that, see here, and this is what the software I am going to share with you, all of you guys. Okay, and this is XP with base. Okay, and for here the VAS for standalone software, standalone installation, that means base installation. Once you did the base installation of software base, VAS software base, the VAS is going to be arranged as a standalone, right? That you know very clearly. So for this setup, and this is the software which we are going to use. What I did is I created a VMware. In that VMware, I already installed the Windows XP. So in that OS, we copied the VAS 6 base software, so that by using this, you can see and you can get a complete experience of base installation, and as well as the complete experience of standalone VAS setup. Okay, everybody able to see, right? See here, I opened two actually. This is already installation done. Here already installation done. Okay, in this already installation done. Why I opened two? For installation itself, it will take half an hour time. So to cover that, what I did is I already did one installation in, see here, still installation is going on in this instance. Okay, so this is the fresh instance. Okay, and I will show you how the installation will start and everything in this session. And then once this installation is started, it will take half an hour time, right? To overcome this, I will come to here and I will explain you the folder structure. The time will be covered. Okay, I entered into this. Okay, so now everybody able to see, right? See, so this is the OS is Windows XP, right? So the OS is Windows XP. In that, I copied the software VAS software. This is a physical server. This is a physical server of a Wintel server, which the Windows XP software is there. In that, we copied the VAS software, and you observe how the VAS software is going to be looks like. So if you open this folder, and this is VAS 6.0 base software, and we have the lab files also inside the 6.0 software. This is the complete VAS 6.0 base software. Okay, in this, see, you will get a folder VAS, and you will get a folder plugin, and you will get a folder IHS. That means this VAS, if you go inside the folder VAS, you will see the complete software of VAS 6.0 base software. If you go inside the folder IHS, you will see the complete dump of IHS, IBM HTTP server, which is a web server. The complete dump of web server base software 6.0. And if you get into the plugin, you will get the software of plugin, which is going to make a relation between this application server and as well as web server, right? So this is how it will look like. So this is the total dump, right? This is the total dump of VAS software. In this, I said how many ways we can do the installation. Installation can done in two ways. To do the installation of VAS, we'll get into the VAS folder, and this is the complete dump of VAS. This is complete software, right? So how many ways we can do the installation of VAS? We can do the VAS installation in two ways, right? We can do the VAS installation in two ways. One is GA installation, and another one is silent installation. I already said for the silent installation, response file is the major one, which is going to be the come into the picture and will do everything. If it is a GA installation, it's very simple. Click on this install executable file, and whatever you want, select and make it done. Okay. If it is silent installation, you are going to do it by using a response file, right? That response file also will come with the software. If you observe in this software, you will see a response file base.txt. This is the response file which is going to be used to do the silent installation. So whatever you are going to do with this install.exe, the same thing done by using a response file. So now I will open this response file and I will show you briefly how the silent installation will be done. Okay, then we'll get into install.exe with the GUI installation. Okay, so let me open this response file. It's very simple here. The silent installation is going to be very simple. Just you are going to modify the existing response file. Okay, and whatever you are going to give in the GUI mode. So this is the response file, and this is the command which you will use after modification of the response file is done. What this command will do now, -options, and you are going to, this is the command which you are going to execute after done the modification of the response file. -options, then you are going to give the path of the modified response file. This response file you are going to modify, right? And in the end you will give as a -silent. So what will happen? This execution install.exe will take this modified response file, and in silent it will do the installation. Okay, right? Here you need to go for the path where the software is there, right? See, I am in the path here. Okay, so now see, okay, fine. So now see, I am into the path where the software is available, right? Here, if I want to do the silent installation, okay, if I want to do the silent installation, I have to execute install.exe hyphen, this command I have to give install.exe, and there I have to give this command -options and path of the modified response file -silent. The same thing, okay, the same thing I have to give here. Understand? So here what will happen, in execution of this one, install.exe will go to this path, and will take this response, your modified response file, and the installation will be done in silent. Got the point, right? So this install.exe will go to this path and it will take this response file. You already modified this modified response file, and installation will be done in silent. Okay, so this is the modified response file, what I am saying, right? This is the response file. So here you are going to modify, like, see what you are going to modify here, and you are going to modify the license acceptance is false is there now. You will make it as a license as a true, right? And then you are going to unmute those installations, right? You are going to unmute those installations. You are going to do IBM WebSphere installation location. This is going to be Windows, right? Whether it is AX or HP, if it is a Windows, this is where this product binaries has to be installed. You are going to give the path. Remember very clearly, this is the location. What is this location? C program files IBM WebSphere app server. This is the path what you are going to specifying in this response file. What is this path? This path is nothing but a VAS home. Okay, this path is nothing but VAS home, where the product binaries of VAS 6.0 base will come and sit. So you are specifying where it has to be installed. Okay, then in the same way you will give the this is the what type of profile is, and you are going to give the what is the node name, and what is the local host, and what is the port numbers you are going to use, and everything will be available here, and everything, and you are going to modify entire response file. Okay, just imagine now your modification of the response file is done. Right? So modification of the response file is done. Then what you will do? You will copy this modified response file. Okay, modification is done, and you will modify the modified response file, and you will paste it into the desktop, right? And now what you will do, if you want to do the silent installation, you will come to the command prompt and you will go to the path. Sorry, you will come to the command prompt and you will go to the path where the software is available, and there you will execute the command install.exe space hyphen options, right? Options, and then and the path of where you know your modified response file is there, and then hyphen silent, right? And once if you give the enter here, what will happen, you know, this install.exe will go to the path of desktop where your modified response file is. Here it is there, no? It will pick up this response file, and in the silent backend, the installation will happen. Clear with the silent installation, right? So now that is one way of doing the silent installation, right? So now, how many ways you can do the installation? Installation you can do in two ways. One is silent installation. For silent installation, you will use this response file and you will use that command install.exe hyphen options, and in the inverted commas you will give the path of your modified response file and hyphen silent. And once you do the execution, the installation will be happen in the silent installation. That is the silent installation. How it will happen with the lower version 6 and 6.1 up to 7, it will be in the same way. From 7 it will be changed. I will tell you one version to version. Once the picture will come, I will tell you how it was going to be done. But one thing remember, everywhere, every version, whether it is a 6, 7, 8 or 9, if you want to do the installation of a silent, the response file is the key factor which will do everything. But the style may be different with the version to version. Okay, fine. Now let me start the installation in the GUI mode. So if you want to do the GUI mode, it's very simple. Click on this install.exe, and whatever you are doing in the GUI mode, the same thing you are going to modify in the response file if it is a silent installation. First it will ask the license acceptance, right? Whatever we are selecting here in the GUI, same, all those we will modify in the response file. That's it, nothing difference. And we'll execute the command in the backend. The silent installation will happen. Click on next. Here, accept the license and click on next. Now, what is it to do? What it was doing? System prerequisite check. What it will do, you know, it will check whether this OS, this software is compatible with XP or not. And it will check whether the required RAM and everything is okay. Everything it will check. That's what you are seeing here, right? Your system complete the prerequisite check successfully. That means this is a compatible OS with this XP. Suppose if my software is the Windows OS is XP, and if I copied the VAS software of Linux one, and if I did the installation, this definitely the system prerequisite is going to be failed, obviously. So it's very clear. You should be very clear with the dump with the OS while you are doing the installation. This is the first step which you have to check. Prerequisite check whether you are put a proper OS related VAS software or not. Okay, so the system prerequisite check is successful. Then next, see, now this is the path where you are going to give where the product binaries has to be done. This is nothing but VAS home. This is nothing but VAS home. C, generally in the Wintel, it's going to be C, program files, IBM, WebSphere, app server. If you want, you can see, you can name whatever it may be. Generally, the path is going to be like this. I don't want this app server. Okay, I will remove this. Generally, it's going to be C, program files, IBM, WebSphere, app server. I'll give it as a, I don't want to name it as a WebSphere. I want to give as a VAS. Then I will give as a app SR. Okay. Then it will be, this is the path. We are going to call this path as a VAS home. VAS home. What will come in this path? In this path, all the product binaries will come and sit in this path, and this path we are going to call as a VAS home. And this VAS home content product binaries, by using those product binaries only, we are going to create a profiles, which is nothing but creating a complete runtime environment of VAS. Okay, this is the path what I given, and click on next. Now, instead of going for full installation, you go for a custom installation, which you can customize the settings. I'm going for custom installation. See, now the installation it was taking application server samples and as well as Java docs, which is these samples, which whatever the application server is installed, the server name is going to be server 1. In the server 1, if you select this one, the default sample applications will be installed in the server 1 defaultly. So I'm selecting this one, and because I want to show you that application how it will work, and click on next. This is very important. Okay, this is very important. And what is this? This is port numbers. This is the port numbers which your application server is going to interact. Once this profile is created, right? Once this profile is created, it's going to use these port numbers. These port numbers is going to use these port numbers to interact with whatever the access. Here, let me explain you. The first two, administrative console secure. This first two is related with the console. What is a console? What is a console? Console is, in the first chapter we discussed, right? The entire VAS is ready. How you will do the administration? Entire food is ready. How you are going to eat by using the spoon, right? The same way, entire VAS is ready. How you are going to do the administration of that VAS by using the administrative consoles. What is that? Administrative clients. Administrative clients. In that administrative clients, one of the administrative client is console. By using the console, and you will do the administration of VAS, right? So to open that console, this is the port numbers which it was going to use. What is the default port number of a console? To open HTTP 9060. If it is a secured one, it's going to be 9043. This 2 is related with that. Okay, remember that one. So this 2 is related with the console opening ports, and this 2, which is a HTTP transport port. The name itself is showing you, right? It's related with the transport port. So that means this HTTP transport, once the request hit into the application server, in the application server, what will be there? What will be there? Applications only, right? Applications. So if you want to interact with the applications which are there in your application server, this HTTP transport port is going to be used. That means the applications, whatever the applications deployed into the application server is going to use this HTTP transport port numbers. One is the default one is 9080, and another one is 9443, which is HTTPS and which is HTTP. The HTTP default one is 9080. If it is HTTPS, it's going to be 9443. This 4 is related with, first 2 is related with the console opening, HTTP and HTTPS. Next 2 is related with the HTTP transport ports, which is nothing but the applications which is already deployed into the application server. To transport those, to interact with those applications, we are going to use these 2. And next is bootstrap port, which is going to use for to start up your JVM point of view. So port number I will explain you very clearly when we talked about ND installation for the federation point of view, and remaining all these 4 is related with the security, and those service integration port and MQ ports, all those are going to be the messaging queue related ports, and high availability management is related with the clustering point of ports. Those ports, when and how those are going to be used, I will explain very clearly when the chapters come into the picture. As of now, remember, this 2 is related with the console, this 2 is related with the application access, this is the boot start, and this is the SOAP which is going to be used for the federation and as a SOAP port number, and those are the security related, and those related with the cluster, and those related with the MB related one. Okay, those are the port numbers. And anybody has idea where the port numbers is going to be stored in which XML file?
Server index.xml, sir.
Exactly, Ravi. Excellent. Yeah. Where that server.xml file will be available in which path?
Where we have server index.xml.
Where the server index.xml file? At the node level or server level or cell level?
At the cell level.
No, it's going to be at the node level. Remember that. Okay. So here, why I'm pointing out this one, you know, because this is the very important XML file, and you should know where this XML file will be available and why also. I will explain each and everything. So remember which XML file is available in where and why. Okay, so now once the profile is created, I said it's going to create a complete runtime environment of VAS. To run a VAS, a complete environment will be created as a three layers cell level configuration files. Okay, node level configuration files. Inside that server level configuration files. This XML file is going to be at node level configuration files. I will show you once the installation is done. Okay, so remember, this XML file is going to be the port numbers related. This XML file will be available at node level configuration files. Okay, fine. So this is about the port numbers, right? So for what those are going to use, and you click on next. See, now it was asking me node name. Okay, so I will give the node name as a GM node. Group module node. In this node only the server will create it. The application server will create under this node. This node is created under a cell. Okay. And the host name. The host name is nothing but, you know, the host name of a physical server. Then which host name the logical server will use? Virtual host. See here, host name I am giving as a local host, right? So by using this local host name, the physical server will interact. That's fine. Then under this node, your application server will create, right? So then this application server will create, right? In this node, your application server will create. This host name is for your physical system. Then what about this? This is also a server, right? This is also an application server which is created under your node. But what this server will use the host name? That host name is nothing but virtual host. Okay, that is virtual host. Very important one. We will discuss it very clear. But you got the point, right? This host name is going to be used by the physical server, physical system. But the JVM application server, which is going to create under a node, it's going to use the virtual host, because this application server is not a physical system. It is a virtual system, virtual server. That's why we are going to call it as a JVM. This JVM is going to use the host name. That host name we are going to call it as, because of it's a virtual server, we are going to call that host name as a virtual host, which is a very important point in the JVM point of view. Okay, fine. The node name I given as a GM node, and the host name of a physical server I given as a local host, and I'm giving next. And so run this application server process as a Windows service. Yes, we'll select it as a Windows service, so that, you know, in the Windows services, this WebSphere services also will be added. And login as a local system account or login as a specified user account. We'll go with the login as a local system account only. Startup type manual or automatic. Generally, in the real time, it's going to be automatic. Why? You know, if the physical system started itself, always it should be start. But here we will make it as a manual only. Okay. So whenever this physical system is started, whenever we want, we'll start it manually. Okay. We'll select manually and we'll go for the next. And now, once I given the next, the installation will be start, where this is the path where the product values will come, right? So give on next. Now, meanwhile, the installation is started, right, in the GUI. Meanwhile, let us go for that path where we given the VAS home. Go for C, program files, IBM, program files, IBM in VAS. We given name as a VAS, right? Generally, it's going to be WebSphere. App server. Generally, we given name as an app server. Generally, it's going to be app server. Fine. What we are going to call this path? This is the path. We are going to call it as a VAS home. Installation root, installation home. Any name will be okay. Generally, we'll call as a VAS home. And what will come here? What will come here? Whatever coming here, we are going to call them as a whatever coming here, we are going to call them as a product binaries. Whatever coming here, we are going to call them as a product binaries. Coming right. Whatever coming there in the VAS form, we are going to call them as a product binaries. Why I am saying this many times? This is the VAS form, and whatever coming here, we are going to call them as a product binaries. Okay, why I am saying this many times? You know, by using this product binaries, which is there in this VAS form, we are going to create a profiles. What is the heart of your web sphere? Heart of your web sphere is profile. So how the profile is going to be created? By using this product binaries. Where the product binaries are available? Product binaries are available in this VAS form. So where the VAS form path, who is going to decide? While installation, you are going to decide. Generally, the path is going to be C. If it is a Wintel server, generally the path will be C, program files, IBM, WebSphere, and app server. Now, my question is, if you want to see your environment, how your environment is, log into your physical server and go to the VAS form. There you can see how many instances are created for your sessions. Okay. So now the installation is going on, and once this installation is done, all the product binaries will come into your VAS form, right? See, here it will take a lot of time, and I think because of slow, it will take half an hour time. So what I did is, before 6:30 itself, I opened the same one more instance. Okay, I opened the one more instance. I already did finish the installation. Okay. Here installation is going on. It will take half an hour time. So what I am doing now is, I already did the installation. The same thing. It will take another 40 minutes, more than 40 minutes. Okay. Meanwhile of this, once the 40 minutes, this installation is done, all your product binaries will come, and your profile creation and everything will be done. This part I already done in this instance. See, installation is done, right? So what I will do is, I am going to close this one. Okay, because to make the fast. So now, see, the installation is done. So that means installation is done means this is the instance. I will close this instance. Yeah, it is done. Okay. So now this is the instance where the installation is already done, right? So how you will, this is the system Windows XP where the installation is done. How you will check in your environment also what the instance, what the VAS software it was created. So where you will go? First you will go for the VAS form. So generally VAS form it will be C, right? Program file C. Go to the program files, IBM VAS form, IBM WebSphere, in the app server. This is the VAS form, right? This is the VAS form. So in this VAS form, whatever available, we are going to call them as a product binaries. Once the installation is done, this product binaries will be ready. This we are going to call as a VAS form. So thus here you just need to observe what will be there in VAS form. You need to observe what will be there in VAS form. In VAS form, see, you will have an uninstall. If you want to uninstall this instance, you can use this uninstall one. And very, very important, bin directory, where all your command line tools will be available in bin directory. And remember, this bin directory will be there in VAS home, and as well as once profile is created, there is a profile home, right? In the profile home also you will see the bin directory. But the bin directory in the VAS home and the bin directory in the profile home, both going to contain main command line tools. But why the bin is going to be at VAS home and as well as at profile home, I will tell it later. Okay, but remember, bin is going to contain command line tools, which is going to use for the all execution of your administration. This bin will be there in VAS home, and as well as the bin will be there in profile home also. Okay, fine. Now, and you will see, and please go through all those folders. What is there? Installable apps, installed channels. What is installable apps? The ER file which you are going to deploy, where you will put in the system, in installable apps folder. You will put your deploy application in this installable apps, right? And what is, or each and everything has its own priority, and once the situations come, I will tell you what is this UDDI in the web, and as well as logs, and you will see the log files here. See, bin you will see in profile home, and as well as logs also you will see in the profile home also. You will see the logs in VAS home and as well as profile home. In this log you will see log.txt, where you can see the installation is successful or not. There you can see the installation configuration success. So that means the installation of VAS is done. Where you will check in VAS home, in the logs, log.txt, you will see the installation success. Okay, this is going to be VAS home. In that, whatever the files and whatever the folders you have, we are going to call them as a product binaries. In this, each and every folder has its own importance. Once the situation comes, I will tell you. Now you remember the bin directory and log directory and installable apps and as well as profiles. These four as of now. Bin directory is going to contain the command line tools, and the same bin directory will be there in profile home also, and log folder is going to have the installation success information, and installable apps where you will copy the installable applications, and in the profiles, this is the place where you will see the profiles which are created by using these product binaries. As by using these product binaries, what are the product binaries of this? This is the product binaries of base, right? This is the product binaries of base. So by using these base product binaries, how many types of profiles you can create? You can create only one type of profile, right? That we already discussed. We can create only one type of profile, but the same type of profile you can create n number of times. So as it is only one type of profile you can create, so defaultly the profile will be created already. So if you want to see that profile, go inside of this profiles folder. There, see, you are seeing the default, right? What is this default? Is the profile, already a default profile is created. If you get into this default profile, this path we are going to call it as a profile home, default profile home. Whatever the content it is there, it is going to be default profile home content. Okay, this path we are going to call it as a default profile home. If up to C program files, IBM WebSphere app server, up to app server, we are going to call it as a VAS home, where the product binaries will be there. By using the product binaries which is there in VAS home, we are going to create a profile. We already created a profile called default. If you get into profiles and default, this path, and this path we are going to call it as a default profile home. All the content, this we are going to call it as a default profile home. So what will be there in this default profile home? This default profile, whatever the profile name is default, right? In this default profile home, the profile is created as a 3 layers. I said as a 3 layers, right? What it will be created as a cell. Inside that cell name, inside that cell level configuration files, inside that node level configuration files, and inside that server level configuration files. Getting my point, right? So by using the product binaries of a VAS home, we are going to create a profile. Here, as the product binaries is a base product binaries, we can create only one type of profile. What do you mean by profile? Profile is a heart of the WebSphere. Profile exact definition is, profile is nothing but which is going to create complete runtime environment of VAS. To run the VAS, the complete runtime environment, we create a complete runtime environment as a 3 layers: cell level configuration files, inside that node level configuration files, inside that server level configuration files. That server is nothing but your application server, which you are going to do the administration. So now it is a path where the default profile home. So inside this default profile home, if you get into this config, you will see cells. Inside the cells, you will see the cell name. Inside the cell name, you will see cell level configuration files, and you need to remember what are there in the cell level configuration files. If you go inside the nodes, you will see the node name. Inside the node name, if you get into this node name, you will see the node level configuration files. And I said, the port number, while we did the installation, all the port numbers will be stored in where? Server index.xml file. See, you are able to see the server index.xml file here, right? What will be there in the server index.xml file? The complete the port numbers using by the application server. So where this server index.xml file will be available? At node level configuration files. So if you go inside the server is defaultly, the server name is server 1, and if this is the application server which you are going to administrate, if you get into this is server level configuration files. Get the point, right? Just observe once again. This is VAS home. By using this VAS home, all whatever there in the VAS home, we are going to call them as a product binaries. By using this product binaries, we are going to create a profile. Profile is nothing but which is going to create a complete runtime environment of VAS as a 3 layers: cell level configuration files, inside that node level configuration files, inside that server level configuration files. If you want to see that, get into the profiles, and default is the profile name. Get into the default. This path we are going to call as a default profile home. Inside that, go to the config, and you will see the cell name. Inside the cell name, you will see the cell level configuration files. You will see the folder node. Inside that node name. Inside that node level configuration files. Inside that server name server 1. Inside that server level configuration files. Well, so let me stop now and let me go through. Anybody has any doubt? Very important discussion, practical point of done. And now anybody has any doubt, please shout.
Sir, here we got already, we have a response file. So can we record that response file if we don't have?
Response file, you will, see, response file, responsible is the responsible for silent installation. First thing is clear, right? You are saying, is it possible to record the response file? That's what you are saying, right? Yes. Then I know why you are asking that question also. Here you are seeing the response file in 6.0 version. You are seeing the response file with the software, right? But when you come for 8, you are going to generate the response. That is the thing is, the installation process is different. But the thing is, if you want to do the silent installation, the using file is response file. Okay. So here. With the version 6, you will get the response file defaultly. You just go to the response file and do the modification and execute the command. But it's not the story is going to happen from the version above 7. Okay, and the commands what you will use, how you will generate, and how you invoke that, and everything I will tell you. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Okay.
And one more thing, Vaishnavi, you only asked me about the Liberty profile, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So forget about the Liberty profile. Now, because we are talking about the profiles now, right? What is this profile? We can call it as this profile. What we are saying now. This is one type of profile. It is a standalone profile. And another type of profile possibility is a cell profile. Another type of profiles. I'm not saying profile. Profiles possibility is management profiles. Understand? So 3 types are I'm saying. One is now we are seeing is a standalone profile, and we have one more profile, cell profile. In the cell profile, a federated nodes will be there that we will discuss, and we have a management profiles. Understand? In that management profiles, you
Yes.
will get admin agent and as well as DMJ, deployment manager and job manager and all those things. In the same way, we have a separately a customized custom profile. The same way we have your Liberty profile and all those things. Okay.
Yeah, that will be
whenever-
at like 8.5 got introduced, right?
Yes.
Version.
And when we talk about the Liberty profile and with compare of 8.5, 9 some more features are added. What are those features also? When the situation comes, I will give a clear picture. Don't worry about it. Okay. Yeah, fine. So anybody has any doubts up to now? Anybody has any doubts up to now? Whatever we discussed. Okay, fine. If everybody is clear, then let us start the servers and let us see the content of VAS home now. Sorry, profile VAS. Okay, fine. So this is VAS home, and inside the VAS home, go to the profiles. Right. Inside the profile, one profile is created. The name is default. Inside the default, this is path we are going to call as a default profile home, and this is default profile content. And in this, what are the major one? This is the default profile home, right? In this, major one is config. If you go inside the config, you will see cell name, cell level configuration files. Inside that node level configuration files, server level configuration files. I said bin directory, which is there in profile default profile home and as well as VAS home. Bin is there. What will be there in bin directory? You will see all command line tools, but the thing is, bin directory will be there in VAS home and as well as each and every individual profile home. What is the difference between this bin and that bin? We'll discuss it later. But the thing is, we'll have the bin directory in VAS home and as well as each and every individual profile home. Okay. And the config, we are very clear. The cell level configuration files, node level configuration files, and all things will be there. In that, you will see the logs. See, in this log, you will see all JVM related logs and what are those logs and what is the purpose and everything we'll see. Now, I want to ask you one question, you guys. In this logs, this is a default profile home, and we are into the folder logs, right? There should be a folder called application server name. What is the application server name of this default profile application server name? Server 1, right? You are getting my point. What is the
Yes.
it is a default profile now. What is the application server? If you go inside that config cell name, inside that cell level configuration files, node name, inside node level configuration file, server name. This is the server 1. This is the JVM. This is the application server. This is the place where you will deploy the applications. But what will be there in the log? There should this log folder in this VAS home, in this log folder. What will be there in this log home? The logs of the server 1 application server, but still it's not there. Why? We just did the installation. That's it. Still we are not started, right? We are still not started. Once if you start that server 1, immediately in this log folder, one folder will be created with the JVM name. What is the JVM name? Server 1. Inside that server 1, you will see all the server related logs, system.log and whatever you will see. And once after start, we'll come to here and we'll see it. Okay. So this is about the log folder, right? Here you are seeing installable apps and what will be there in this installable apps? Whatever the ER files you are going to do the deployment in the server 1, you are going to copy them into this installable app, and from here you will do the installation setup. Okay, this is what the content of default profile home inside config. And here if you see cells, inside the cell name, and inside the cell, those are going to be the cell level configuration files. Now Very, very important. Now we are at the cell level configuration files. What will be there in cell level configuration files? What folders will be there and what XML files will be there? That you need to remember very, very, very clearly. Okay, make them mug up. That will make more effective. If you want to be as a core infrastructure build team, build level. If you want to if you want to become as a build level, architect level, you should know very, very, very clearly all those things. What is there at the cell level, which folder, and this is, if you see at the cell level, you are seeing 4 folders. One is node. Inside the node level name and node level configuration will be there. That's fine. What is node group? What do you mean by node group? What do you mean by core group? What these applications will contain? Okay, whatever the applications running in the JVM, those will be there in this application folder. What is the core group? What is node group? I will explain you very clearly. It's later. And very, 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 very precious concepts, core group and node group, when you come for the clustering pointer. Okay, so inside the nodes you will see node name, and inside that node level configuration file. But that is about this folder nodes. And what are the XML files we have? What is this admin authorized that XML will do? It is purely related with the authorization of security users when you go for the login, and cell.xml, what will be there in everywhere. If you see here, you will see the cell.xml file, right? In the node level configuration, you will see node.xml. In the server level, you will see server.xml. What will be there inside of that? Okay, what is this security.xml file? And where what is purely related with the security? What is this virtual host.xml file will contain? What is this variables.xml file will contain? So you people just try to R&D, do R&D in all these files. What is there and what is the purpose of that? And I will explain you very clearly. But you start doing the R&D. What files will be there and what is those purpose. And for example, I am saying you here. See, if you see admin authorized and as well as security.xml, those two are related with the security related. Okay. See, if you observe, the security related XML file is not at node level or is not at server level. It is at cell level. It is at cell level. It is at cell level. Why? Why? Because inside that cell, whatever the nodes, now it is as a standalone, right? We have only one node. If it is a network ND package, inside the cell there will be n number of nodes, right? All those nodes, inside that node, there will be a, here as it is a standalone, we have only one server one. But inside that node, we can create n number of JVMs, right? All those JVMs has to use this security. That's why security.xml and admin authorized.xml file both are stand at cell level configuration files. And one more thing, I want to explain you one more thing. If you see here, resource.xml file is there. What is this resource.xml file? This is when, if you remember, when we talk about the first chapter, when we see the main diagram, how this application servers is interacting with the database. How it was interacting. We have two types of database, right? One is application database, another one is EAS database. If the application server is interacting with application database, how those are going to be interlinked? A bridge will create. The bridge name is resource. The bridge name is resource. What is that resource name? JDBC resource, Java database connection resource. That resource information will come and sit in this resource.xml file. Okay, but remember, this resource.xml file is at cell level, and as well as the resource.xml file will be at node level. If you see here, see, resource.xml file is there at the node level. If you go inside server, the resource.xml file will be available at resource.xml file also, right? So now, if you observe, security.xml file, security authorized one or security.xml file is available only at cell level, because inside that cell, whatever the nodes we have, and inside the node, whatever the JVMs we have, everything has to be used that security. That's why security.xml files is available at the cell level. But when you come for the resource which has to be interact with the database, now see, we have three types in the three locations. We have the resource.xml file. Resource.xml file is at the cell level, and the resource.xml file is at the node level. Resource.xml file is at the server level also. Why? You know why? While you are configuring your application server with the database, you are going to create a resource, right? There you are going to give a scope of resource. So suppose, just imagine you given a scope of resource for a particular JVM. You are configuring a JDBC resource for a particular JVM. That JVM is server 1. Server 1 is the JVM. You are configuring a resource with the database. So while you are configuring a resource, you will give the scope at server level. So which XML file will be updated? Only resource.xml file at the server level will be updated. So only that server 1 will interact with the database. Okay. Suppose while creating this JDBC resource, if you give the scope of the resource at the node level, just imagine you give the scope of the resource at the node level, then what will happen? The resource.xml file at the node level, if you see here, at the node level, under this node level, the resource.xml file is there now. This resource.xml file will update. So if this resource.xml file is updated, whatever under this node, the JVMs are created. N number of JVMs you can create under the node, right? Once it is a management node, all N number of JVMs can use that JDBC resource to interact with the database. Okay. If while creating, if you give the resource scope, at cell level, then the resource.xml file which is there at cell level will be updated. So that because of this, under the cell, whatever the nodes we have, under that nodes, whatever the JVMs we have, everything is going to use that JDBC resource to interact with that database. Very, very important thing what I discussed. If anybody has any doubt regarding it, please shout.
Sir, here if I changed one of the property of JDBC or something at the cell level, so definitely this resource.xml is going to change.
Exactly.
So,
will update.
Yeah. And by default, even so node level also got changed and server level also got changed that time? Or
No. Here, see, the point is where you did the scope. The scope is at the cell level, means only cell level resource.xml file will be updated. If the scope is at the node level, only node level resource.xml file will be updated. If it is server level, only server level resource.xml file will be updated. See here, in the JDBC resource, what are the major things? Connection pool, data source, and JNDA name. These three is the major facts which while you are configuring a JDBC resource, right?
yes.
Those three are going to be major thing, which is going to make you to interact with the database. Okay, so those information will be updated in this resource.xml file depending upon the scope where you give it.
Okay. Got
Anybody? Fine. So that's the thing. Okay, and anybody has any doubts? Clear, right? Okay, fine. So now see here. See everything whatever you are seeing at the cell level. So what is there? Please make a note down. Every file has its own importance. When the situations comes, each and every file, what is the purpose? I will explain. See here, virtual host is there. It has some purpose. Variable we have, security we have, resource we have, resource PME we have, resource.xml we have, and each and everything we have, but make sure that what are there and make it note down and mug up them. Okay. If you go inside node, you will see node level configuration files. See here, you will see node.xml, and here you will see server index.xml file, which is going to contain the complete port numbers information. And in the servers, if you go inside that server level configuration files, there you will see the server.xml and as well as all related. And please compare what are the commonly seeing XML files in all three, and what are the differently we have, and what is only they have. So just compare everything. Okay. So now let us start this server and let us see the console then. Okay. If everybody is clear with this folder structure explanation, let us start and let us see the console. Okay. Is everybody is clear with what we discussed up to now? Yeah. If you want to start this server, the server one is your application server, right? Which is created under a node, under a cell, and with the profile, with the default. You have to go for bin directory. In the bin directory, you need to execute start server one. Here, as it is a Windows server, it is going to be .bat. If it is a Linux server, any Unix flavor, it will be .sh. Okay. So go to the command prompt, cmd, right? So where cd program files. So if you want to start, you need to execute a command called start server.bat. Okay. What is that? Here, if you see start server.bat. So where it is start server.bat is a command line tool which is available in the bin directory of default. As I said, the same bin directory is there. Program files, IBM, WebSphere, app server. This is profile home, right? Sorry, this is VAS home. Here you can see the bin directory and cd bin. Now you are into the bin directory of VAS home, but you need to start the JVM of default profile, right? So, but bin is there at VAS home and as well as at profile home. Which bin you have to go? You have to go profile home bin directory. Which profile JVM you want to start? Okay, but at the same time, is it possible to start that profile JVM from the VAS home bin also? Yes, it is possible, but syntax is different. That's the thing. Here, as it is a VAS home bin directory, okay, if you want to start a server, the syntax is different. Like you need to give profile name hyphen default and then start server that server one. Here you need to specify the profile name also. Instead of this, what is the best option? Always go for its own profile home. CD profiles, I think. Okay, inside that default, right? Default, CD, default. Inside the default, you have to go for bin. You have to go for CD bin. Okay. Now, if you see what is this path? Default to profile home bin. So if it is the default profile home bin, you don't need to give the profile name. You can execute the command directly start server.bat space. What is the server name? Server name is server one. Server one. Okay. Just give enter. If you give enter, now first time the server one is starting, right? Now you see, if I am not wrong, if you see here in logs, see server one came, right? If you observe, before it's there. No, now server one is started, right? We given the start server. So once the server is getting start, once it is started, the server one folder will create. Inside this server one, all server related logs will be created, which is a system.log, and everything will be come here. See here, you got right system.log, which is a major log file of a JVM. Okay, and whatever the JVMs, because it is a standalone, right? Only we have only server one. That's why in the logs you will see only server one folder. If it is an ND package, you will see n number of JVMs, right? With each and every JVM name you will see in the logs folder. Okay. So I said you right. So this server, once the server one is started, so the console server is open for e-business with some process ID means server is started. What is this process ID? It's a very big concept and very logical one to troubleshoot the issues. Okay, remember for every process, once any Java process is started, it will create one process ID. Okay, so how this process ID created, how to do the troubleshoot and everything we'll discuss. Okay, later. But once if you got the statement like open for e-business with process ID means the process is started, the Java process is started. Okay, now process started, right? So now let us administrate. If you want to do that administration, how you will do in the architecture we discussed, right? The VAX is ready, server started and everything. If you want to administrate, by how you will do the administration, by using the console, the user client. What is to administrate, you will use the administrative client. What is the administrative client? Console. Fine. I said console also a JT application. Which is already defaultly deployed into the isc-lite.er file, which is already deployed into the server one, right? In the server one, isc-lite.er file is already deployed. That's why the console is a JT application. Now, if you want to do the administration of this VAX, you need to open that console. How you will open the application which is there in the application server? By using the user clients. What is the user client? Generally, we will use browser-based user client. That is nothing but Internet Explorer. Open the Internet Explorer. Okay. And what protocol it is using? What protocol it will use? It will use HTTP and as well as HTTPS. Right? What the protocol there? What the protocols they are using? HTTP or HTTPS also. See here, if it is HTTP, first let us see with HTTP. HTTP:// okay, we open the user client. The user client is browser based. The browser based user client is using the protocol HTTP or HTTPS. We are using HTTP now. Now what you have to give? You have to give the host name of a physical server. Okay, host name of the physical server. What is that physical server? Local host. And generally you will give the naming convention of the servers, right? In the real time, whatever the physical server naming convention is there, we are going to give. That is nothing but IP address. You can give IP address of the also. Instead of localhost, you can give the IP address also, right? So now, by using this user client, browser-based user client, by using the HTTP protocol, the request will hit the localhost physical server. From in this physical server, where it has to go? Once it reaches the physical server, right? Where it has to go? It has to go for the JVM of server one, and in that JVM, console has to be open. So while installation, I said 2 port numbers which is going to be assigned, which we can consider them as a virtual host. I will explain you virtual host very clearly after some time. Okay, now imagine what is the port number we use? 9060. 9060 only, right?
Yes.
Yes, 9060. Then what you want to see in that? In that 90, once you up to localhost means request reach the physical server. Once you given 9060, the requested hit get into the server one also. From here in server one, what application you want? That means you need to give the context root of that application. What is the console context root? /IBM/console. IBM/console. If you give this, what will happen? HTTP protocol it will use. It will hit the localhost physical system. Then it will get by using 9060 port number. It will get into the server one. in the server one, it will check the contact root of /IBM/console, which is a contact root of console. Got the point? You are able to see the console now. Okay, log into the console. Well, welcome to IBM WebSphere application server version 6.0 base console, right? Cool. So those are the servers. See here, this is the place where you will do the entire administration of your servers. So you should be very clear with each and every point what are there in the left side. What will be there if you extend into servers? You will see both application server as well as web server, as it is a standalone. If it is ND, some more will be added. If it is a version 8 and version 9, some more will be added. What are they? You will be very clear. So if you click on application server, what is the application server? We are using server 1, which you will see here. You will see server 1 here. Only one will come. I think some issue. Only one it is created, right? Yeah, server 1, which is created under a node. And what is the version 6.0.0.1? What are these extension? You are able to see 3, right? What are those 3? Akash?
Fix packs and retrace packs.
Yeah. The first 2 is related with the versions, and the last one is related with the fix pack, and before one is related with the feature pack. Okay. So if you update with the fix packs, the last version will be updated. It will become 6.0.0.2, 3, 4. If you did the fix pack updation, if you did the feature pack updation, the second version will be updated 6.0.1.3 or 4. If you did the migration, that means from first 6.0, right? If it's become 6.1, if it's become 7.0, if it's become 8.5, then what is the meaning? Migration is happened. You migrated from current version to latest version. If the last digit is changed, you did the fix pack updation. If the second digit is changed, you did the feature pack updation. If first 2 digits is changed, you did the current version, migrated to latest version. Okay, fine. So see here.
No, sir, one question, sir. Why?
Yeah.
This is Ravi. Why we are doing like refresh pack, fix packs, and why we need to move that? So why we are having?
Why we will do the fix pack, and when we will do the feature pack, and when we will do the migration. The definition is simple and explanation is a big story, which we will cover into the chapter wise. When we discuss about the migration, we'll cover, and fix pack and feature pack updation we'll cover in the system management. Okay, but the thing here you have to understand, the thing is this version is divided as a 4 parts, right? This is a fix pack, this is a feature pack, this 2 is a migration. Thus up to now you just remember this, Ravi. Understand?
Sure, sir.
Okay, so if you want why we'll do the fix pack updation, it's a big story, man. It's not going to happen within a minute. Huh? It's the thing is you just remember the name fix pack, and you remember the name feature pack, and you remember the name migration. Okay, so how we'll do, when we'll do, why we'll do, it's a big story. Okay, we'll discuss once that chapter come, once that concept came. As of now, remember these 3 parts. Okay, fine. So here, see, this is the place where you will do the entire administration and Don't worry, I will explain each and every point, whatever there in this console and which one is used for what purpose, and everything is going to be covered here. But meanwhile, it's okay for the who are already working with WebSphere, who are fresher, who is not having any knowledge. Please concentrate more on this console. Do whatever R&Ds you want and check everything, okay, and it will give more knowledge. Okay, see, if you go for these enterprise applications, we already said, you know, default applications has to be installed, right? So we select the default, right? See here, default applications are there. If you get into this Plans by WebSphere default application, and here you will see the modules, what are there, and what and this Plans by WebSphere is an application, and it's going to be like Plans by WebSphere.er file, right, which is already deployed. If you see here, view deployment descriptor, you are able to see here, right? If you see here the view deployment descriptor, what is this deployment descriptor of this Plans by WebSphere.er file? This deployment descriptor is going to be application.xml file. What will be there in that application.xml file? All context root informations. If you view this deployment descriptor of this Plans by WebSphere.er file, see all context root, what it was in, see context root information, and what will be there, the complete information of this Plans by WebSphere application and how it has to be deployed. Everything will be there in the deployment descriptor. And if you see the modules, map the modules to the server. If you see, it was the Plans by WebSphere.er file is a combination of what modules? See here, EJB module and web module and web module. Here, if you see here, EJB module, Plans by WebSphere.jar, and Plans WebSphere web application.var, Plans WebSphere sample gallery web application.var. See here, the Plans by WebSphere application is a combination of 3 modules. What is that? One module is .var, Plans by WebSphere EJB module jar. Another one is .var, another var. So it is a combination of 3 modules, one jar plus var, and it is become a Plans by WebSphere.er. Getting point, right? If you see, as it is a EJB module, what is the deployment descriptor of EJB module? If you see here, EJB-jar.xml. As it is a web module, what is the deployment descriptor of this? Web.xml. See, in URI group, you are seeing that web.xml. Here in the URI group, what is this? As it is a web module, what is the deployment descriptor of this? Web.xml. In the URI group, you are seeing these links, right? What this URI will check in plugin cfg.xml file. One lot is URI group. Remember this name. I will explain very clearly when we discuss about the plugin cfg.xml file. In the URI group, it will check the deployment descriptor it was using, and depending upon that, the request flow will happen. Okay. So here you are able to see this deployment descriptor also. And here in the servers you are see, right, where it was running. It was running in only server 1. We have only server 1, right? That's why it was showing running in server 1. If we in the setup it is a ND, you will see all available servers. If you want, you can map them. If you configure now you have a web server here. No, we not configure web server, right? If you configure any web server, you will get the web server here. Once if you configure this application with web server in enterprise application, when you see here in the enterprise application, when you see here, and you will see each and everything map the modules, and there you will see the web server also here. So what you will see, the Plans by WebSphere, you will select all these and map the modules. It's not going to be only server 1, and you will in the drag down you will select that web server, and once the map these modules apply, these modules are mapped with is going to map with that web server. So what will happen after mapped with that web server? The application, whatever you are seeing in that application, in this application, whatever you are seeing the modules, whatever the modules you are seeing, the web modules, what we have two web modules, right? Plans WebSphere web application, Plans WebSphere sample gallery web application. These two web modules will mapped with web server. So that what will happen? If any static request came related with this Plans WebSphere application, the web server, mapped web server itself is going to respond. If the request is a dynamic which is related with this Plans by WebSphere EJB module, then only the request will come to this application server and it will check. The request first will come to the web container and HTTP, embedded HTTP server, which is the internal web server, will send that request to EJB container. In the EJB container, you will see this module and the whatever the request, the URI contain, it will take that and it will display in front of your user client, that is Internet Explorer. Okay, fine. So anyhow, each and everything, whatever we have now, not only one, each and everything, our servers, applications, resources, in this you will see the JDBC resource and the security, global security and SSL and environment. It will be very, very beautiful when you see in the ND point of view, and system administration and monitoring and tuning and everything, each and everything. This UDDI is related with the mappings. And somebody asked me about the mappings of this MQ, MB portal, and all those. And I'll show you how those are going. And the UDDI is going to be interact with the user client. Is a web services client. If it is a .NET frame related one, we have the user clients, right? What is that? Internet Explorer, browser based, and as well as JDA client and messaging client and web services client. Those web services client information has to be mapped with this UDDI nodes actually. So one by one, each and everything we will discuss. But as freshers, whoever there in this class, please log in to the console. This is the place where you will do the entire administration. Okay, and entire administration will be happen here. So log in and check it out and come back with a lot of doubts tomorrow. Okay. And yeah, this is the thing. I think almost it's coming for 9, almost it's 2 hours done, and it's time up for me. 1 second, I will stop this recording.